Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Connected Conversations. I am Martina Mazdrova. I am your host, and I am standing as the source of a transformed world. And therefore, I'm bringing the Connected Conversations to you to really be the source of connection, of love, of joy, of transformation. And the intention of this conversation it is really connect you with the person who you get to have in your life or the piece of information or just with yourself and having the moment to stop and just do nothing and just connect with us with our energy as we discuss an incredible topic I am so excited about. So thank you so much, Liying, for joining us on the Connected Conversations. I'm so
You.
honored.
Thank you so much, Martina. It's my pleasure. Thank you. And the way we connected is really a true testament to how energy just flows everywhere
Yes.
around us. It doesn't have to be physical. So I'm very, very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yes, me too. Oh, I love that. So why don't we share this? Why don't we share actually? Why don't we start with this? How did we connect? How did we
Hmm.
connect, Leon?
Well, I mean, we connected on the great Facebook, really. And it was literally just something that I came across, and I don't really check that place a lot either. It's
Yes,
just
me
something
too.
that comes up. And then I was like, oh, this person, I don't even know. Like, I don't really usually volunteer myself, to be honest. It's just like, oh, this is somebody that's like putting out something that's asking for like-minded souls, and I just felt like me, that's me. And I just
Yes.
we answered
Yeah.
it and without even knowing who you really were at that time and all that, and then we connected and it was just beautiful. So thank you,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. And just like me, I mean, I am in the group not regularly, and I just connect and I just like, oh, if here is the space for collaboration, post what you do. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
first time I have never shared this. So
Mm-hmm.
in a Facebook group like this, I was just like,
Awesome.
okay, this is the intention. If it's you, let's connect. And then we connected like this within a space of, I don't know, 10 minutes, maybe. So
Yeah,
beautiful. So
exactly.
I am real excited. And you are doing some incredible things in the world and in people's world through tea and tea ceremony. And that what really stood out for me because I was like, well, I like tea, but I don't really know anything about tea. And what do you mean by healing and transforming through tea and tea ceremony? So tell us more and who are you and how did you get into tea and tea ceremony and all of the story that you like to share?
Sure, thank you. And again, thank you for giving me the platform to share my story to the greater world out there and people who are connected to you and all the rest of us. And I think that is where I would like to start with tea. When we think about tea ceremony, I don't know about you, Martina, but just like you, I literally was somebody who loved tea. I was like, I love tea. This is gonna be amazing. And somebody sent me an invite, and it's to a tea ceremony at the time. And I was like, well, I love tea. Why not, right? So that was the feeling I was carrying with me when I went to my first ever ceremony. And it was there that I had a spiritual awakening. I had one before that, which I will talk about in a bit, but that was the moment when I literally heard my a voice, really. I don't know if it's my soul or the divine or whatever it is that you want to substitute with your own words in your own
Mm,
beliefs. But I was told to serve. I was told to honor tea, to study tea, and to serve. And that's really the word to serve. Um, and so that was the very beginning of my tea journey, I would say. But before that, I had 10 years of anorexia, actually. Anorexia was the main body of the entire eating disorder history that I have. But I also suffered from various other disorders during my relapses. Um, it was a very long struggle for me.
mhm.
But looking back now, I believe that everything happens for us. And if it wasn't for that, I would not be where I am today. So thank you, eating disorder, because that is the one thing that switched on my first ever spiritual awakening, as you would call it, where I truly felt myself inside my body. I can't really explain it, but I felt me in this body, and I felt me moving through the body and out like a kundalini energy out of my third eye and into the cosmos. And that was a very beautiful experience. That was very mind blowing, literally. um I think after that, I just want to put this out there because I think a lot of people think that once you awaken spiritually, that's like the end of your journey and you're
Yeah.
enlightened in some way. It really isn't, because we are all spiritual beings here to live a human experience. And so I did have to live through my own human experiences to get to where I met T. When I met T, it was a time when I was very disillusioned with my current state. I was in a place where I could say I manifested everything I wanted. I had the job that I wanted. I had the boyfriend that I wanted, the flat, the country that I was living in, all of these things, but I wasn't happy. And so that was the moment that I met T, and who knows what T would lead me to in the future. But I guess that's the gist of it, of the whole story, really.
Yeah. Uh,
That's why I'm here serving. I'm serving tea, and also I'm working with women who are struggling with disordered eating and body
mm,
image issues, which is a real passion of mine, to be honest.
mm. That's beautiful. Thank you. I acknowledge you for your authenticity, really, and being fully open and vulnerable, because I know like quite a few people kind of in my circle who's been having different eating disorders or challenges.
Mm,
So I would really love, if you're open to it, to explore a little bit more of that before we go
yeah,
into more tea and that. Do you
absolutely.
do you know what was the starter for you
Mm,
to with anorexia? What is, so even people actually who are on the other side and they have maybe in their family circle someone who is going through that right now, what is
mm,
actually, what was going on inside of your world, inside of you, and how actually people can support
mm.
people who are in this path and journey.
Yes, that is such an important question. Thank you so much for asking that. Um, when I was going through my own eating disorder, there was a lot of definitely people around me who were worried, but I think at the same time they weren't sure how to approach it. I
Mm,
think the common thing that you would probably hear is like eat more, or like just eat, right? And the real thing that needs to be addressed is not about eating and food and the body have had become a means of control, to feel like I'm in control when my life was actually spiraling out of control. At that time, that you asked me what was the thing that triggered it. It
mm,
was actually, I think, looking back now, I would say it was a long time coming, but it just manifested itself when I was in university. I remember when it became very serious, it was when I was in my second year in university. I think all throughout my life, I grew up feeling like I was never adequate. Like I just felt like I wasn't good enough, I wasn't
mm,
pretty enough. And the worst, the well, not the worst thing anymore for me, but I think at the time it was also one thing that was proven by other people, like external sources, where they would say, yeah, you should be this one, you should be that, or you should be more, like even how you look is like you should lose some weight. That's the
mm.
common thing that you hear a
Yeah.
lot. And diet culture is so prevalent. You don't even know that you have hit upon it even when you've got it in you. And people say that, and that's one thing I teach a lot of my clients, is that triggers are all around us, and we need to know how to be centered, and we need to know our own being, our own
Mm,
sovereign right. Otherwise you will be constantly triggered, because that is the fact of life. That's what's going to be happening anyway. And people may give you a compliment saying, you look great in a dress, you would still be triggered because you're not feeling secure within yourself. So that was where I was. I was never really secure. I would feel like if someone complimented me, it would be like, no, 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 there's something that I need to fix. Or if someone criticized me, it would be like, okay, there's something I need to fix as well. So it's the same thing. So that was the cycle I was caught in all the time. And I think, it was a very deep rooted sense of pleasing people. Like
Mm.
I need to do something to myself or make myself into something in order for other people to feel happy, but it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. You might please your mother, but then someone else would say something, and then you will have to try to please the other people, and it's just never going to end. You're just going to be really, really, you're the one who's going to suffer because of that.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I just wanted to touch on this because it's really important to understand that the food and the eating and the body, they would express this a lot. Like the clients that I work with, they will constantly be saying the same things to me, which is I wish I could eat normal, but what if I start eating normal, I would gain weight or I'll get really fat or whatever. And this is really just a symbol, a manifestation of the fear that once you become your true self, you won't be accepted, that you will be asked to fix yourself, that you won't fit in anymore, literally, right? You have that fear of not being able to fit into your clothes anymore. That fear is so big that you would not even do anything in your life because you're paralyzed by that fear. It may sound silly to other people because I've spoken this in forums where there are not just people with eating disorders, but other normal people, and some people actually laugh about it because they think that it's
Yeah.
funny. It's like, why would you care about that, right? Like, so I always say that, this is something that is a mental health issue. It's not about food, it's not about looking thinner, it's not about looking, you know whatever it is. It's a
Mm.
really deep seated fear and
Yeah.
hate that needs to be metabolized, and it can be. I just want to put it out there, recovery is absolutely possible. So
That's so
yeah.
powerful. Thank you for that. And I mean, I had so many different questions now going through like four different
Go for it.
directions. And as you were saying about this, actually the fear of being authentic, right? Because I mean, I resonate with that very much in very different way, but it's the same fear. It's just manifesting through very different things.
Hmm.
And I see it a lot again in my circles and as having conversations, connected
Hmm.
conversations with others. I mean, particularly women. It
Hmm.
is this, right? Is this feeling of we are having a mask on to fit
Hmm.
in, to blend in, to be accepted, to be loved, to be heard, to be seen, to be whatever. Like really,
Yeah.
because then because I feel it is like it's easier or less painful to be judged or rejected for the mask, but who would I be without it? What if the true me, the
Hmm.
authentic me, the in a deep essence, the person who I truly am, what if that person won't be accepted, right? And
Yes.
I feel like there is so much of fear of judgment and what will people say, what will people think, what will people, and they're judged anyway. People judge anyway. Shall they judge the mask or shall they judge people judge?
Exactly.
Right? So that
Exactly.
was one of the things, and it's just asking the questions, which is like, what else could it mean? How else could it be? Instead of
Hmm.
like people won't love me, won't hear me, won't understand me if I am fully authentic, 100% me in this most amazing, special, passionate, unique way as every single person on earth is.
Hmm.
Right? What else could it mean? What if I am accepted for this? What if I am seen and heard and loved for that, just for being me? And that for people who entrepreneurs, right, who are having businesses, particularly now online entrepreneurs, that's another such a big block like showing up fully,
Hmm.
authentically, like this is who I am. I mean, take it or leave it, but this is who
Yep,
I am. So
exactly.
that's huge, and I love that you're talking about this. And
Yeah, and I also want to touch upon the fact that, we write a lot of stories about who we are, and I think that's one of the reasons why we are so attached to that identity,
yeah,
or the fear of being exposed and not
mm,
being loved when the real person comes out. And I just want to touch upon the fact that, I think human beings have generally been socialized to fear their emotions. So, like, you're not supposed to show too much joy, or you're not supposed to cry in public places, or you're not supposed to shout or scream, or whatever it is, right? Like when you see somebody on the street like singing, you would think like, oh my god, that's weird, right? Like that's how you are socialized, and that is
mm,
how you're programmed to react.
mm,
um, but I think there is so much right now, especially with what has happened over the year. We need to understand that emotions are just merely energy in motion, and like you said, if we don't have compassion, it's very hard to diminish the judgment that we have for everything and everyone, because that is how our mind is programmed. Our mind is here to keep us safe. It's here to
mm,
judge if this is safe. Is this a bear who's going to attack us, or is it
yeah,
a harmless thing? So we need to understand how to reconcile the mind and
mm,
allow our bodies to take over and tell us what it is that we really need, and at the same time connect ourselves and remain connected to the seed of our soul, because our soul knows the best for us. We've just lost the means to hear, to listen, and I think that that's a lot of um, yeah, we need to understand that we need to put these three things back into a bridge, like a functional bridge, because right now they're all operating on their separate selves, and everyone's just scrambling because they can't deal with all the jobs that are supposed to be done by another part of us, if you
mm,
know what I mean.
yeah,
The mind
totally.
is trying to do everything that the body is supposed to be doing. The body is trying to tell you something, but the mind is not listening. The soul is trying to tell the body something, but the body is not being able to listen, because the body is trying to figure out how to keep you surviving and ticking when you're on the diet and you're starving yourself, or your mind is not working. So all these things we need to know that, because otherwise we're just going to keep separating ourselves. And on the
Mm,
larger scale, the collective consciousness is so separate because of that. We're
yeah,
all, we're not in that oneness, you know
mm,
so
totally. I love that. It's an alignment, right? It's an alignment
yes,
because
exactly.
we are right, as you said, we are a physical being, we're an energetic
Mhm.
being, a spiritual being. I mean, and the connection is inevitable for people to thrive. I know, and that's why I stand for connection. That's why I do this. That's why I coach women on connection with self, because everything is just a mirror, right? Whatever I am experiencing in my life, in my relationship, in my life in general, in my reality, it's a mirror of the relationship I have with myself. So the second I connect, I
Mm,
align, I connect with myself, what am I experiencing, what am I feeling, and all of that, I will be able to hear the guidance,
yeah.
as you said. What is my body telling me? Oh, my neck is sore, my ear, I've got an earache. Okay, do I need to take a pill, or what am I pretending not to hear? What is hurting me to hear? Like asking these
Mm,
questions and listening for the answers, which we always get. That's been like transformational on its own for me, and I know that when I look at my life back, and then I look at the moments which were like the toughest, the hardest, where I was just like feeling like this is tough work, this life. And it was
yes.
always because I was disconnected. At that
Mm-hmm.
time, at that time, I wasn't in personal development and any of this. So I didn't realize it's me. I didn't
Yeah.
know that at that time. But I felt the disconnect. I felt the disconnect with my friends or with family or with my environment. It was disconnect. Now I can see, now I can comprehend. I was disconnected with myself, and that's I projected that right to my
Mm,
environment. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm so passionate because about connection, because I truly believe it is everything.
What
It's
do you
it's
think about, like, the Martina back then and the Martina now, where you have taken back your sovereign power, where you
mm,
believe or you can see now that you are the creator of your
yeah.
experience, that you can
Mm.
interpret any experience the way that serves you, right? Like
Mm.
everything happens for you. It's such a powerful thing, I
Oh,
think.
it's just as you were saying that, like saying that it's just the words liberation. It's
Yeah.
freedom. Yes, you know what? We still have tough days. We still like we're human beings. We're
Of course.
evolving. Of course, it's gonna come. There is always next level. Whatever level we are of stage if on of our lives we are in, there is always the next level, and there will always
Mm,
be the next challenge, the next feelings, the next doubt, the next fear, and all of that. But the power I feel of personal development and transformation is is the level of self mastery to be able to shift
mhm.
like this, to see is like, okay, this is not working, and stop making the stories of I am this, I'm not enough, I'm not capable, I am this, no one's gonna listen to me, no one,
Yeah.
I don't know, any stories that we make up about the situation, about the person, you know, instead of
Yep.
like, okay, this didn't work, what else could it mean? What
Hmm.
else could it mean? How do I who do I get to be? Not what I get to do, because we're the human doings, and that's the problem that we're the doing. Like, who am I being? Who do I get to be to shift? Who do I get to be to change that conversation, the scenario? Who do I get to be to
Absolutely.
get that job? Who do I get to be to run a successful business in
Hmm.
the vision that I have? It's the being, is the be do have. And that's
Yep.
the problem that we tends to have here. The I need to do this, I need to do more, I need to work more, I need to work harder, I need to work more hours, then I have that, then I have the job, then I have the business, then I have the money, then I have the relationship, and then I am happy. Then, and that's so twisted and wrong. And this is generally the problem. What's going on? Is it
Mhm.
easy? No. Is it
Mhm.
worthy? Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Because that's,
Yes,
I feel the liberation comes in here.
I
Be able to
agree.
shift, like literally, like, whoop.
I totally agree with that. It's not easy. Absolutely not. I'm not gonna say it's like an airy fairy, like
Yeah.
bing, and then you're like completely. It's an
Uh-huh.
everyday thing. It's a daily practice. It's just like how you would go shower every day, and it's the same thing. Like I don't understand sometimes when people come to this thing, this spiritual thing as they call it, and they think
Spiritual
that,
thing.
yeah, they think that like once you start, like maybe have well, I see this quite common in ceremonies that I have, that is like once I come to the ceremony, then everything will be different. And it's true, it will be different, but how do you maintain that? How do you maintain that
Yes.
heart, that you cultivated in the ceremony? It's every day, it's a daily practice, daily remembrance of
Yeah.
yourself. And I love what you said, because it kind of brings me beautifully into tea, because tea ceremony is so beautiful in a way, and it's a powerful thing, a powerful practice that you literally can come and just sit in a very non-judgmental space where you you let your mind drop into your heart, I always say.
Mhm.
But because going back in time, let's just go back in time a little bit in history. Tea ceremonies began, and they were hosted by, it could be a monk, it could be a shaman, it could be an emperor, it could be a samurai in Japan. But all of them, no exceptions, have to pass through this really tiny door where you have to crawl through, and all of them have to disarm themselves, so all their swords will be left outside the tea hut. And this is a significant symbol of how when we enter the tea space, all of us sit together, we all sit on the floor, we are not above or below each other, and we are here not to judge, we just drop all our swords. And that is the beauty of a tea ceremony. If anything, if you don't believe in spirit, even, which sometimes I find kind of strange as well, because spirit is your breath. Like, your spirit will leave your body if you stop breathing. You know, that's how it is. But
Mm.
if you look back just with this ceremony is all there is. This present moment, this present moment where you are respecting the stillness and you're respecting the act of drinking tea. That's it. But in a greater scale, you're sitting in non-judgment. And when you said be do have, I love that because here you drop your name, your identity melts away, and you remember your essence. Who are you at the core? And at the same time, you're deliberately surrendering the need to do. You're not doing anything, you're not achieving anything, you're just drinking tea. And then whatever needs to come, it will come. Whatever needs to rise will rise in you. And that is what we say, you're in the zone. You're resting at the source, but at the source, that's where you create as well. That's where creativity unfolds. So it's very beautiful. You know, you're not doing anything. Like I can't see it happening, but it's happening inside of you. And when you come out of the ceremony, it's almost like you're a different person.
I
That's
love
why,
that.
yeah, it's beautiful. That's all there is. Like it's so hard to put into words sometimes, but
Mm.
yeah, it's just that, and that's why I love. Um, I want people to know about it because it's something you can do at home. You don't have to have like what I have in the ceremony. Obviously, I do this as a living, so it's different. But if you want to just start, you can literally have a cup of tea with you in silence and just really drink your tea. Turn off
I
your
love
phone,
that.
everything.
It's so
Just drink.
beautiful. I want
Yeah.
to have a tea now. I'm gonna go when
Yeah.
we complete. I'm gonna go and sit and have my
Yeah.
tea.
You know, there are lots of tea lovers like you as well who come and they would always say that they always drink tea, but then this feels so different. It's like I never, it's almost like I would paraphrase it, but like they would say, you know, I never realized this tea tasted like this. Like they could tell, like they can peel
Yeah.
away the layers of that leaf
Mm.
because we do things on autopilot so much that you don't notice it until you pay
Yeah.
so much attention to one thing. So yeah, that's
Yeah, I love that because it really brings me to being intentional, right? Because
yes.
often, as you said that, like, oh, I drink tea, I like tea, and generally
Yeah.
speaking, not of course everyone and all. Generally speaking, we drink tea and we check the phone. We drink tea or we
Oh
drink
yeah.
coffee and we check. Okay, what's the email? What's the next? What are the notifications? What is the to-do list? What is it that I'm gonna do? And
Oh.
we're on all the time, and it's the same with food, right? And I
Mm.
notice this, I've been there, like, and I'm still have moments when I'm just going and I'm having my dinner and I'm checking my email. What's next? What's next? And I have
Yes.
to be so conscious about it. Like, hey, girl, what are you eating? What are you even eating? Like, let's put it to the side.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
it is, and as you say, it is daily practice because again, there is the next level of depth, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And I know for me, I mean, I absolutely love nature.
Mm.
I am
Me
although
too.
girls, I am now like I'm actually gonna say this here, and I am ready to pay the price of totally being judged and not looking good and being rejected. But you know what? When I'm in nature, I officially call myself like the fairy goddess. You know, the
I
forest
love that.
goddess.
I love that.
Of
Oh my
course,
gosh.
goddess. I mean, for fun
Oh.
because you know what? I love it. I love being in nature. I love seeing trees, and I know anytime I go, anytime I go, I connect and I get ideas. I get creative, and it was
Yeah.
so many times I had incredible breakthroughs where I wanted to sit down at the desk and work and be productive and create and get these ideas. And it's like, what does that look like if I create both? And what does that look like if I go out and have my time and be in nature and create and have the
Mhm.
ideas? Let's experiment. And guess what? I went for a walk for a couple of hours. Within an hour, I've got all the downloads, all the ideas of what I maybe would not have even created on the day. And
Oh,
what it is for people, maybe for someone is a tea, maybe for someone it is walking on the beach, maybe for someone it is running, maybe for someone it is to meditate, just be in silence, to
mm,
dance. What is it? And that's again tuning into yourself, even remembering. I really love this visualization. Like, remember the happiest moment when you were a child.
yeah.
What was the? Who were you? Where were you? Were you at your grandpa's? Were you with your family? Were you somewhere alone? Were you by the beach? Were you swinging? What were you doing? What was the feeling? And how can
Mm,
you bring that back? I know I was outdoors. I know I
yeah.
was in the nature. I was by the sea when I was on holidays or by the water. And that's really what connects me basically. And I know the second I do it, it comes together. It
Mm.
comes together and it gets to look like differently because all the things that we know and we believe, I mean, they're not necessarily true, you know?
Well, basically, you've touched upon the fact that you remember that you are nature. That's why.
Yes.
And you're made of the same energy as nature. Whatever that made up the universe is you, basically. So that's why one of my teachers, he loves to say this. It's quite funny now that I think of it. It's like, well, I'm gonna ask you to go and touch something in nature. When I say that, what's the first thing that comes up for you,
Tree,
Martina?
tree.
Well, why don't you think about touching your own cheek or your own nose or
I
your
don't
own
know.
heart? Because you are nature. You
Yeah.
are, and nature is you. And
Yeah.
I think the closer you get to nature, the more you, like you said, exactly what you said, like feeling like the fairy godmother. And that is
Totally.
exactly it. Because you are. You
I
are.
am.
You are. And the funny thing that I always say is like you are also the bridge between heaven and earth. You are constantly circulating energy from the cosmos, but at the same time your 2 feet are grounded to earth where you're channeling the energy from earth. And at the same time, going back to tea comes from trees, and these trees are also a bridge to heaven and also earth, because they have roots that go deep into the soil, but they also their leaves. Oh my gosh, can I just speak
I
a little
love
bit
that.
about the leaves? They
Oh,
encapsulate the raindrops, the snowdrops, the sunlight, moonlight, starlight. The tree
yeah.
branches are playing with the stars, caressing the clouds. If you think about it in that way, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I'm not
Yeah.
just drinking something that is, yeah, I think we are quite disconnected, don't you think? Like even when you're
Oh,
eating food, like
yes.
I think most of the people I speak to don't even think twice about where their food is from, you know? And that just is such a testament to how disconnected we are. It's really that, like, it makes me sad to think about it, but I
I,
have been in that space before as well.
yeah.
So it's really interesting to start beginning to believe that we are the creator again. We are the creator of our life.
Yeah.
Even if something doesn't work out, it's always working out.
Yeah. Totally. And again, it brings me, I mean, there are two things I want to touch on. Like, we're kind of getting towards the end of the show.
Mm,
And what I wanted to say is, like, we're manifesting, right? We're creating, because I mean manifestation can be a new word or maybe even triggering word for some. So it's just creating. Like, when I look at my results in my life, they're not created by what I did. They are about how I'm feeling. What is my subconscious?
yeah.
What are my feelings of feeling enough and feeling worthy and all that? Like, looking at our bank accounts, is it what I want it to be, or it doesn't work? Money equals support, money equals value. Where am I not valuing myself and
Oh
self-worth?
yes.
That's so huge. We can create another show, and I will, on this topic specifically, because it's so
Yes, please.
powerful. But I wanted to talk about nature. I had this incredible moment. It was about a month ago. I went for a walk. I was literally going along the river through the woods, and I feel the most abundant when I'm in nature, because I'm just like, look at the beauty, look at what is
Mhm.
there, and it's here. I don't need to do anything for it. I just am, and I feel it. And oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. And I was like, on my left side there was a river, on my right side there was a forest, and I was just looking at the trees, and they were so beautiful and unique and perfect, and every tree, every leaf looked differently, had a different color, yet they perfectly came together. And as I was passing through the forest on the path, I could see that there were some of the trees broke and they fell across, and the other trees on the other side caught them perfectly right in between their branches. And I'm just standing there and I'm like, oh my God, we've got so much. We've got, I believe we, but I get to speak for myself really. I've got
Mm-hmm.
so much to learn from nature, because
Mm-hmm.
look at it, like every single tree is different, totally
Mm-hmm.
different, just like us people as human. Yet,
Yeah.
yet they functioning, yet they working. I know there was this incredible book that it's on my reading list. What is it called now? It's Tree of Life, Life of Trees. I know of that. I've lost
I
it
think it's
now.
Life of Trees that you're talking
Life
about.
of Trees. That makes even more sense based on like English. Life of Trees,
I think
and
so,
it's
yeah.
all about how tree works and collaborate and how they work about water and all that. And I was just looking at it, it was like, what would it be like if we people, human, could be like this, coexisting next to each other, whether one is yellow,
Mhm.
one is blue, one is green, one is orange, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, like in terms of looking at different cultures,
Yeah,
and
we
yet
are, yeah.
falling into each other for
Mhm.
support, for love, for joy, for connection. I mean, it was beautiful, and I feel the more time we spend in nature, the more time we stay in connection with in nature, we connect with ourselves, we connect with who we, as you said, who we are. We start maybe hopefully remembering
Yeah.
who we are and kind of stepping into this power of like, okay, this is me and this is how I get to show up because I matter. At the end of the day, I matter. You
All
matter.
of us
Every single
remember
one
that.
matters.
Yes, we do. And I think all of us feel the same when we step into nature, in that way. Although this is the difference that sets you apart from the people who do it once in a while, is that
Mm,
they feel that moment. It's almost like, how you fall in love, or when you see a sudden surprise snow falling outside your
mm,
window, or perhaps when you first see the cherry blossom, that feeling that you get is very fleeting, it's very
yeah,
brief, but you can always feel it. You can remember that through your daily practice, through your daily commune
mm,
with nature. What
yeah,
is it that makes you feel that way? Because it's such a powerful frequency. We don't realize that we are
yeah,
energy beings, that this frequency is what exactly leads to your manifestation of what exactly you want in your life. Because again, we talk so much about law of attraction, but I think we're getting to a place now where more there's a mass awakening, and people are really understanding that they do hold a key to a lot of the things that they want in their lives. But at
to
the same time, I
everything.
just want to talk about like how important, and this is a reminder to myself because I have been in that scarcity mindset for the longest time. I was raised to believe that, the saying like, oh, do you think that money grows on trees? Like, da, 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 and all these things like that really plants a seed of scarcity in us. The truth is that all of us, there's a lot more to go around. There's an endless
There's
abundance
everybody.
to go
Yeah,
around.
space for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to remember that. And how to remember that is to go back to nature. Go back to nature, really be in the present moment of nature. And I believe there's one teaching, I believe it was Eckhart Tolle, that I really loved. And it was to walk in nature, but to not name anything, not to name the tree, or to think, how do I use this tree? How do I use this river now? What can I do here? Instead, just really just walk in the presence of nature, instead of naming it, what is it called? Let me Google what it's called. There's an app which I think is great, but I think not maybe something you can use when the time is needed. But really, there's an app that you can take pictures of plants, and then you find
Yeah,
out what the name
yeah.
is. But I really urge you to just walk
Just
in the
be.
presence of it and feel
Just
that
be.
feeling.
Yeah,
The fairies, they're all
yeah.
there.
I love that. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful dot of our conversation. I loved it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
Thank you,
creating connection.
Molly.
I feel super charged right now. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I would love to have another one on another topic. I
Absolutely.
mean, there's so much more we could discover.
Yes.
And I wanted to say just or ask you, is there anything that we haven't covered or anything that, if it's a one thing for our listeners that they will leave this conversation with, what would it be for you? What is the message for our
Wow.
listeners?
I think just really, if there is something in your body that feels like a charge or a tension, whatever it is that you're doing, listen to that. Really listen. Your body knows. Your body knows.
Nobody
So,
knows. I love that.
yeah, that's it.
Yes. And lastly, where listeners can keep up relationship with you if they want to learn from you more, how they can find you, where they can find you, what's the best place?
Well, I think the best place would be my website or Instagram. They're all when still waters speak, so you won't miss me. It will be there.
Awesome. So I
Definitely.
invite you just drop it in the comments so it is
Mhm.
easily accessible.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this
Thank you,
time.
my
I've
love.
really enjoyed myself and all the best.
Thank
And
you.
until next time,
Thank you, my love.
thank you.